Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Got a couple stories of my own. Don't know how to green text, so bear with me. These stories all happened at my grandma's house, which my family and I know is haunted. We've all experienced some weird ass shit there. The layout is weird too. You walk into the house and you're on the second floor, which consists of the living room, dining room and kitchen. Next to the kitchen is a patio with stairs leading up to the bedrooms, and stairs going down to a garden, a place where we butcher animals, and another bedroom with a bathroom. Most of these stories center around my dad, and the spooky shit that's been happening to him since childhood. For starters, late at night, when looking downstairs towards the garden, he would often see a woman looking back up at him, not scary or anything, but unnerving for sure. He slept in the downstairs room, and would often deal with what he describes as el muerto sentado encima de ti, or the dead sitting on you. Pretty much recurring sleep paralysis of said woman sitting on his chest and not letting him up. That's one of the ghosts, entities that we've experienced in the house. We'll continue, don't have this pre-typed, and we'll split by order of stories or entities. The next entity is more sinister, and is the main cause of many haunts in the house. I even have some experience with it. The best way I can describe this thing is by explaining a dream my dad had when he was in his teens. He was asleep in his room, and dreamt that he was outside, next to the lemon tree planted in the garden, and a white silhouette was speaking to him. It told him, "There's treasure buried under here, but he won't let us get to it," and as it finished its sentence it pointed upwards and a huge crow descended onto my dad. He woke up in his underwear, dragged out of his room next to the lemon tree at 3 a.m. This thing likes to fuck with people in mean ways. Our family had a friend who came over for drinks one night, and after a few hours he had to take a shit. The upstairs bathroom was being renovated at the time, so he had to go downstairs, but was skeptical as the house has a reputation for its stories. He goes down anyways, and my family keeps drinking. A few moments later, they hear him scream like a madman from downstairs. They all rush down and force open the bathroom door to check on him, and he's sitting on the toilet, pants down, shaking, pale as a ghost. My uncles and dad try calming him down, but he gets up, grabs his shit and leaves without saying a word. Since then, he hasn't come to visit and refuses to say what he saw down there. This thing slams doors, turns the crosses upside down, throws plates, turns on appliances even if they're unplugged, etc. The only person it doesn't fuck with much is my grandma, and she says cursing at spirits wards them off. So oftentimes when spooky shit happens she goes off on it and activity ceases. My dad also wasn't a very good person, and would often get into fights getting drunk and enjoyed hurting people. He thinks it might be part of the reason why this thing stuck to him and bothered him the most out of all my uncles and aunties. At one point, a black dog would follow him around whenever he left the house, got out of school, went to a party, etc. He got pissed at the dog one day coming back from school and tried throwing rocks at it, but he says that they would just pass through it like it wasn't there. Eventually, after multiple scares with this thing, my grandma got a priest to come bless the house. He shows up, starts passing that smoking lantern thingy all over the house, but once he gets downstairs he visibly got uneasy. He said to let him pray in my dad's bedroom alone for a while. After a half hour or so he comes back upstairs and says he's done blessing the house, but that whatever is in the house has strong negative emotions and a blessing won't be enough to make it leave. He asks if anyone knows of some reason it might be hanging around, and my dad brings up his dream. The priest tells him that he has to dig under the lemon tree, alone, as this thing has chosen him because of his sinful ways and it's his responsibility to see it through. To this day, my dad hasn't dug it up because he's scared that whatever that thing is It wants to trick him into something. To this day, weird shit will happen. My cousins who grew up in my grandma's house on account of my aunt living there with them have plenty of stories too. One of the worst scares happened to my cousin as he was coming home from a party. It was late at night, and it began storming a couple hours prior. My aunt was sleeping upstairs with his siblings when he got home, but he didn't have keys, so he called out to her to drop some from the balcony. My aunt does so, and goes back into the room to sleep and avoid getting soaked. The entrance to the house is a metal double door with mosaic glass, which opens into a small hallway that leads into the living room. The hallway has this arch that lets you look into the living room. It's hard to explain, but just imagine a cutout hole in the wall that gives you a line of sight into the living room as you go in. As he goes in, he tries the light, but it doesn't work. Power outages are common during storms, and my family often unplugs electric appliances because lightning strikes can burn out light bulbs or start fires if anything is turned on. He walks into the living room, but he gets a chill up his spine and feels like someone is standing in the hallway, looking at him through the gap in the wall. He turns around, but it's pitch black, so he can't see. A couple moments of squinting later, as cliché as it sounds, a lightning strike illuminates the hallway enough for him to see a goat, standing on its hind legs, begin to walk towards him. He screams, and bolts out of the living room, onto the patio, and upstairs to the bedrooms, yelling for my aunt to let him in. She does, and he falls to the ground praying. He got scared so bad he pissed himself, and they stayed up until sunrise with a Bible and a prayer card in hand. 2 final stories. The last one I can remember of the scary thing is pretty mild, but still creepy. Another cousin of mine was up late at night watching TV in the living room, and he was the only one in the house at this point because most of his siblings moved out and everyone who hadn't was at a party somewhere else and left him to take care of the house. He's laying on the couch watching TV when he hears someone sigh behind him. Turns around, no one there, keeps watching TV. He hears another sigh, closer, and he starts swearing, telling it to fuck off and leave him alone. A couple minutes pass with nothing happening, so he figures it left him alone. This time, it sighs right next to his ear. He noped the fuck out and called a cab to his aunt's house and stayed the night there. The last story isn't related to the malicious thing, but freaked me out 'cause I was there to see it. A couple years ago we were having dinner in the living room, and my 2 younger cousins were playing with their dolls. They must have been around 6 to 8 years old and I was like 14 or 15-ish. The sun was setting, and they were running in and out of the living room, going downstairs in the garden playing and having fun. We're all eating at the table when we hear them scream, and come run upstairs. The older cousin is bleeding and missing a chunk of hair, and both are crying their eyes out. When asked what happened, she said,
"The ugly boy told us to go with him, and when I said no he pulled my hair."
We all think that it was a duende trying to abduct them, and writing it still gives me goosebumps. Anyways, that's all I can remember. There's plenty more small stories, but these are the major ones. If anyone has any theories on what that really violent, scary thing is, I'd love to hear it. If it matters, this all happened in Zitácuaro, Michoacán.
Be me 6 or 7 years old. Visiting cousins in the countryside of Michoacán, Mexico. Whenever we'd go over there, my brother, cousins and I would go hiking to the hills and forests early in the morning and be back before the sun went down. About 2 kilometers deep into the forest, all is green and brown. Out of the corner of my eye I spot something. It looks like a medieval tower made from stones. About 9 meters tall, has a small tree growing on the side of it. A small hole for an entry, about 2 feet wide and tall. Doesn't have any windows or holes besides the entrance. Hole looks pitch black. Every single tree around it's taller that he tower and crooked as fuck. Tell cousins I wanna get in it, they all tell me not to. Hear them because they know more than me about this zone. Say let's come back tomorrow with a flashlight to see inside of it. They agree. Head back home. The next day I headed into the woods again with them because I wanted to see the tower one more time. Get to the place we saw it. Nothing is there. A patch of dirt in the middle of the crooked trees and nothing else. We all headed back for the day. No one spoke a word about the next week I was there.
Let me just start by saying that I am very rational and logical. It's been quite a while since I've been on /x/ or any 4chan really. If I had to guess, I'd say about a year. I've been looking around reading thread after thread, just wasting time trying to get a good nope feeling going for about a week. Fast forward to this morning, I get a call from my sister in Cali. We talk for about 20 minutes, catching up on what's going on in each other's lives and planning for future get-togethers. Seemingly out of the blue, she brings up this trip we took as kids to Mexico to visit some family. I get a flashback to that trip and I remember something that terrified the shit out of me then. Goes like this. Be 14 in Michoacan with parents and 17-year-old sister. Visiting aunts, uncles, and cousins I don't care about. All 5 of them live in a very wooded area, in a shitty shack. To avoid shitty shack depression, we decide to head into the city. All of us go, so we take 2 vehicles since there are 9 of us now. Everyone buys souvenirs. Sun is going down. Owner of the shitty shack decides it's time to leave. The second driver had wandered off during our shopping and isn't back yet. Shitty shack owner looks nervous and tells all of us to get in his truck. Mom rides inside the truck and everyone else in the bed. It was about a 20-minute drive to get back to the shack. Lots of potholes in the road, so we drive slowly. Sun is down now. I notice everyone in the truck looking in the same direction, no one talking. Through the trees, I see silhouettes moving. Had to be at least 10 that I could see. All of them looked impossibly small. They all moved on 2 legs like men. They were too far away, where I couldn't see any details. No one talks the rest of the drive. We get to the shack and the 3 cousins start crying. My dad, as white as a ghost, goes to talk to the shack owner. Sister stayed quiet all night. We head home the next day. Nobody in my family has talked about it again. What did we see?
About a year ago I was here on X reading and looking for interesting creepy experiences. I ask Mom and Dad if there are any scary legends or stories or stuff you experienced while you grew up in our hometown, Uricho, Michoacán, Mexico.
Yes, Anon, but when I was your age we didn't have electricity in town around the 1960s to 1970s. We still used torches, candles and fire in general to see at night, believe it or not. Every now and then on a very cold and dark, non-full moon night everyone would go hide inside their house. No one would dare to go outside because we were all afraid of this strange man on horseback. He would ride in through a couple streets in town but would ultimately disappear into thin air as soon as he passed the main entry and exit of the town. But people would be scared shitless because the only thing people would hear while hiding in their house was the galloping noise the horse made when it moved around town. According to the townsfolk, only a few people have actually seen the figure and the horse. They all agree the horse was a black horse and the man wore a dark cloak. He didn't have anything like a scythe or farmer tools or anything, it was just a very menacing looking figure. Some people who have seen them have disappeared. One of them was a drunk man. Another was just a random guy who was out late one night. This would go on for many years until once a year the town got so scared. They all came together and agreed to place a large white cross on a hill right next to the entrance. Along with getting our town's priest to bless the town's entrances, along with hanging smaller crosses at each entrance. Time went by and another night like that appeared, and with it also came the man and his horse. However, According to a man who said he was out that night, he said the figure got closer and closer to the entrance. Until he finally stopped a good 5 feet from the cross and turned around and disappeared into the air.
My hometown was and still is super religious. In fact, a weird story my mom told me was I believe 2 to 3 years before I was born a witch. A woman who everyone in my town believed to be a witch supposedly cursed my mom's mom, my grandma, and shortly after she was supposedly cursed, I believe in actuality, a couple months, she started to have mysterious symptoms of an unknown sickness. She started to cough blood, grew more and more ill and eventually died. I believe the same year or a year before I was born. Ever since then I've kinda wanted to find this witch so I could skin her alive, but in all seriousness that shit freaked me out. Especially considering when my mom's brother died. We had already moved here to the US and she acted absolutely hysterical. I literally thought we had to take her to a mental institution. She kept saying some reaper or phantom was coming for her and crying to us why we couldn't see him. Because it was the same reaper or phantom that took her brother away. Not ever in my entire life has she ever acted even remotely like that. It was absolutely unheard of in my family.
Hey, X. This happened about 10 years ago and I don't know why, but it's come back to haunt me for some reason. Can any one of you please explain what is going on with me? Be 10 years old Mexican kid. School camping trip in a place called Los Azufres in the state of Michoacán. Pick related. Amazing place, everything is going well. At night, be sharing a cabin with 4 other bros. Stay talking until about 11, but then because we had done lots of exercise during the day, everyone falls asleep. Have a watch given to me by my dead granddad on me all the time, never take it off. Be 3 a.m. and open my eyes, I try to move but I can't, freaking the fuck out. Only thing I can move is my eyes, trying to scream but nothing comes out. Move my eyes to the side, and see a man standing there. Is very tall, has a hat and seems to be wearing a suit. All of the sudden I feel like my body is being crushed. It's the worst pain I have ever experienced. I can't describe it, it was just as if someone was cutting me in half. Trying so hard to scream but I can't. Guess I faint or something. Wake up at 9 a.m. Everything is normal until my watch is fucking gone. Was sleeping in a bunk bed, so I came downstairs and saw another bro crying. B10 said this is normal. Ask him what's wrong. Says he had a very bad dream, and that a very big man in a suit came to him. All of my what? Tell him what happened to me. He starts freaking out and having a panic attack. A fucking medic has to come to help him calm down. Still can't find my watch even though I looked everywhere. Be next night. I sleep well but in the morning 2 other bros say they couldn't sleep, and one of them swears he saw a man at night standing in the middle of the room. In the morning, say to the teacher I can't take it anymore and I need to go home. Mom comes to pick me up, it's a 4-hour drive. About 2 weeks later, my best bro comes to my house and brings my watch. Someone found it in the woods, I never went to the place where they found it. Lately, having dreams about this every night, I dream the whole story over and over again.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more green texts will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.